Cybercrime is taking a toll on the medical system nationwide with cryptocurrency and ransomware. Both hospitals' bank accounts and patients' information are at risk.
Young voters' turnout is high this year. Students reclaim their political power through voting on campus.
And study abroad programs are making plans about operating in these pandemic times.
Update News starts now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at San Jose State University, your source for what's happening with a fresh perspective on today's issues. You're watching Update News.
Welcome to Update News. I'm Jocelyn Aguirre.
And I'm Fernanda de Velasco. Our reporters are standing by live in Modesto, Santa Cruz, and San Jose.
During a pandemic, hackers are taking advantage, holding hospitals' cyber information for ransom. Danny White is in Santa Cruz with the story. Danny?
Jocelyn, there's been a recent uptick in ransomware crimes. Hospitals around the country have been targeted, which could end up costing them millions. The FBI has warned them to be vigilant in the upcoming weeks.
It's like a scene out of a movie. Give them the money and no one gets hurt. But this time, it's all online using Bitcoin instead of cash. And it's called ransomware.
The Bitcoin is digital money. It's not like in the past when somebody, hijacked or took a hostage, you have to leave it next to the post office, box with a mark or some, those crazy plan.
Professor Ahmed Banafa, cybersecurity expert at San Jose State University, says ransomware can be a major threat to companies.
A company being attacked, or a victim of cybersecurity, they face three things. They face the reputation, litigation, and business loss.
Banafa says that ransomware is a huge threat to companies with weak cybersecurity.
Many of the companies look at cybersecurity as an expense. It's not an expense, it is an investment.
Banafa says many of these companies are health organizations, like hospitals.
It's the weakest industry when it comes to cybersecurity in all the list of histories because you don't have a lot of high-tech people working at the hospitals.
These hackers can take information from a hospital, like a patient's records, and the hospital won't have any information on them, which can be dangerous.
When you don't have access to it, you don't know if this person actually needs this kind of medication next time. It's like driving in the dark. You have nothing to rely on that.
Banafa says it's preventable, however. Companies can store things remotely, either on an external hard drive or in the cloud.
Hospitals around the country are starting to beef up their cybersecurity while still dealing with the pandemic. Live in Santa Cruz, Danny White, Update News.
The results of Tuesday's election still hang in the balance for many races, even the presidential race. The vote count for president would not be known on election night, as many experts had predicted. SJSU students gathered for a watch party and a first-hand lesson in political science. Dozens of SJSU students watched the election results unfold from home, not on network TV as their parents might have, but on Zoom. Hosted by political science groups SJSU Votes and Pi Sigma Alpha.
We wanted to have this event because we really wanted to give students and faculty and staff the opportunity to reflect upon the results, share their feelings with us about the results as they were coming.
Political science professor Mary Karen Percival hosted the call that the students, faculty, and staff joined to discuss the polls on election night.
We have a very controversial person in office who might not be as representative to everyone. And I feel like that's why there's been record-breaking numbers.
Political science student Brittany Ortiz kept a positive attitude for her candidate even before the ballots started to be counted.
I really do think Biden is going to win, and that's who I hope is going to win.
Other students were keeping their feet on the ground.
It's a really, really crucial election in American history because many swing states right now are fighting for not only to control, they're also fighting to make sure that they can represent well.
Participants at the online event held meaningful conversations as results were coming in. After the event, students became even more aware of the numbers and what the polls could represent this election season.
At the end of the online event, polls showed Biden was winning the Electoral College, but the popular vote remained a close race.
Not trying to be set on it because I don't want to get disappointed, but I feel like the fact that Biden is leading in electoral votes right now looks really good.
When are we gonna know the answers? We'll probably know that in maybe a few hours, or maybe a couple of days, or maybe weeks. Wow, this is big though.
But it appears he and everyone else will have to wait for the outcome of some of the races. With more than 100 vote centers open in Santa Clara County Tuesday, SJSU students rushed to locations close to home at the Martin Luther King Jr. Library and the Hammer Theater. At the beginning of Election Day, the California Secretary of State announced that voters had already cast more than 12 million ballots, a big increase from the 5 million cast before the 2016 presidential election. Even students who had already voted showed up at the precincts to mobilize fellow voters.
I just felt like it was important to be heard sooner rather than later, especially for this election.
I was too scared to for my ballot just to be invalidated, so I went in person today.
I just feel like, with the postal service, being defunded and all of that, I feel like it's more important to go in person to make sure my vote gets counted.
In California, ballots can be counted up to 17 days after the election.
Levi Stadium is known as the home of the 49ers, but this year, due to the elections, it became a voting site for the voters across the Bay Area. Kenya Caballero was there on election day. Kenya, what did you see?
Jocelyn, I saw a lot of last-minute voting. A lot of people waited until the end to vote because they were either misinformed or did not know where to vote. Others were concerned about their health due to the pandemic.
A short line of voters waited at the Levi Stadium to cast their vote on the last day of elections. This year, due to COVID, things were different for the voters.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday have been pretty slow, but today's been a lot busier.
The amount of people voting in person has decreased this year due to the pandemic. However, that has not stopped people from enforcing their rights.
On Saturday, we had up to 200 people come in and vote in person. On Sunday and Monday both, about a little over 100. And then between the 3 days, we had up to 2,000 people turn in their mail-in ballots.
Not everyone likes the drop box method. Others prefer to vote in person to make sure their vote counts.
It's a time to change. I want to see some good things happen. So yeah, I'm excited to see this vote go around this time.
The staff has done their best to make sure they are doing the necessary to help the voters feel safe when voting.
We make sure to space people out, make sure they're maintaining 6 feet social distancing. Everyone's wearing a mask.
In-person voters believe everything the staff did made their voting process safe.
It is well organized. There's not a lot of people.
Juan Ruiz is a first-time voter, and he came out to cast his vote to represent his family members that couldn't vote.
It is a part of all of us that can be taken into account.
Just like Ruiz, many people voted this year hoping for a better tomorrow.
This year's elections broke records with the amount of ballots that were turned in on time. We will continue to monitor the results. In the meantime, the Democrat Joe Biden is in the lead. In San Jose, Kenya Caballero, Update News.
Worldwide COVID evacuations forced study abroad students back into the U.S. during the spring 2020 semester. But plans are in the works for relaunching the programs. Nicole Alvalar has more details. Nicole?
Fernanda, as COVID cases decline and countries beginning to open their borders, certain study abroad programs are optimistic about running trips in 2021.
After careful consideration and constant communication with host countries, the SJSU Study Abroad and Away Department is planning to send students out again.
We plan 12 to 18 months in advance. So we have to go into it optimistically because we just never know what the outcome's going to be that far out in advance.
Programs are suspended for spring, but applications are being taken for summer and fall, with some deadlines for deposits being postponed as long as possible.
It's still a risk to be sending students, partially because we can't guarantee that those countries will allow our students in. So that is a layered aspect of evaluating if we can send students abroad now.
But I think that there's also some nerves involved. I think people are nervous to commit to things with there still being so many moving targets, so many unknowns.
Some students are hoping to study abroad once everything reopens.
I want to say that I trust San Jose's opinion and of the safety of everything, but I still am cautious, and that probably will delay the time I do choose to go.
But other students, even those who have already studied abroad, are unsure if they would go in 2021 due to the uncertain times.
I think that if I was going to study abroad now, I don't know if I would do it. Just because so many of the experiences I had that were amazing were in hostels and doing things that are closed down nowadays.
Catherine Young studied in Florence last spring, but was evacuated when the pandemic hit Italy.
And I went up to Norway to see the Northern Lights, which was so cool. But on my way back, my flight got canceled into Italy because, you know, Italy was like the epicenter back then. And I was like, oh.
We've evacuated countries before. In my career, I've evacuated students out of a few countries for various reasons, for health and safety. But it's always been one at a time. It's never been the entire world.
Eventually it got so bad, they started locking down, and that's when the school, and then all the other schools got sent home before us. Like, kudos to CSU for being the last school in Florence, practically. They literally were.
Because of pent-up demand, applications are up for many of the programs.
I think that that's maybe one nice benefit and positive outcome of this experience is that we've been locked in for quite some time. And I think that we're all very eager to travel.
I'm so happy and lucky I was there for as long as I was. And honestly, like my whole life I've dreamed of living in Italy. And so just being there for 7 months was just like everything I could have wanted.
With an uptrend of interest for a global experience, study abroad programs are assessing all elements of sending students abroad in a safe and healthy environment. Live from Benicia, Nicole Alvalar, Update News.
When we come back, Jennifer Hernandez will be here with a look at arts and entertainment.
When community members join forces, good things happen. A trail cleanup polishes a local creek.
The Hammer Theater hosts a virtual contemporary show written by an award-winning playwright.
I did fall into the water chasing after my hat, but it was totally worth it.
People are hesitating to fly now, and so do the witches. This is how they get to Santa Cruz on Halloween.
CSU hosted its 30th annual Media Arts Festival this past weekend, capturing more than 120 students' work. The productions range from film to new media. Due to the pandemic, this year's conference was hosted at a webinar over Zoom.
An entry from the CSU Summer Media Arts Festival are 30 seconds shorter and can represent any category or genre, including screenplay with no more than 3 pages. The Summer Arts established the Media Arts Festival back in 1991 so that it could give students a chance to present their work for critical review. But now the festival is meant to help students of the CSU become better prepared to work in the entertainment and media industries.
This year, the conference did not happen, obviously, and so we just did our own presentation, which was really a lot of fun.
There were 140 submissions, but only 129 contestants qualified because some submissions didn't meet the 30-second time cap. The judges also chose the top 30 scoring to be the finalists.
It's like, yeah, like we all won, so we technically won that festival.
This film is essentially about a little boy living in the shadow of his firstborn sister, and was also one of the films that received the $200 cash prize in honor of the 30th Media Arts Festival.
I did all the compositing and a lot of the special effects and all the backgrounds, and I was figuring out how we would do like camera moves.
This year's festival had no categories, but the top 3 finalists all submitted screenplays or visual entities.
What was going to challenge them, and I really, really respect.
Next year, the festival will be held in the fall and hopefully back in full effect with panels and workshops held at the conference.
And now we have Jennifer Hernandez with a look at arts and entertainment.
Yes, we were wondering, how is the river cleanup going down in the Guadalupe area?
Things are getting a lot better over there with the more volunteer activity that they're getting. Litter has been a growing problem in San Jose, and this COVID-19 friendly volunteer opportunity gives citizens a chance to keep their community clean.
Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, homelessness has increased greatly. One of the hotspots for the homeless community is Guadalupe River Park. The increase in homelessness here has also increased the amount of trash found in the area.
And I've been coming to this trail for many years, and the garbage problem has definitely gotten worse. I walk my dogs all the time, and I have to be very careful because there's garbage all over the place, and I'm always concerned about that.
The city of San Jose has put together a COVID-friendly trail cleanup. This community service opportunity requires masks, 6 feet social distancing, and has hand-free check-in.
Doing this weekly cleanup puts just a dent into the amount of trash that is actually present here. However, it is a start, and it does make a difference.
I want to stay busy and sort of give to the community, and so I got to keep myself sane, so this is a great way to do it.
Volunteers are provided gloves, garbage bags, and cleaning tongs. Everyone comes together at 9 a.m. to collect as much trash as they can during a 3-hour period, all while staying safe.
This community service opportunity is every Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you're interested in helping keep city parks clean, check out grpg.org. Times are stressful, but SJSU Theater Department is making sure students have an outlet with the first ever virtual play. Guadalupe Emigdio has more for us. Lupe?
Jennifer, SJSU's Theater Department is adapting and becoming part of what could be a new form of theater during the pandemic. Storytelling is a way to connect with others, and SJSU's first virtual play, The Living, is doing just that, creating a space for people to connect.
Story with The Living, and that it really begins to highlight what connects us, why we need each other.
Director Johnny Moreno chose this play because of its parallel to many themes we are seeing today with COVID-19.
Play itself is about the plague, right? And so what's built in the play already is social distancing. So because of that, we're not having to be we don't have to enforce it too much.
The Living was written by Anthony Clairvaux, and it is centered on the Great Plague that wiped out most of London. Ironically, this play does not showcase death, but humanity.
Really, I think exposes what we do in the face of adversity, right? How we deal with challenges.
The Living will be streamed on November 21st only during the allotted times.
So I definitely think it can reach a bigger and different demographic, a younger demographic, hopefully.
Actress Garcia is excited to be part of a new process and what it means for the future of theater.
As I said, it's essential. We need to have stories. It's important for it. And this is the safest way imaginable to do that.
Students who enjoy the theater are excited for SJSU's first virtual play.
Drama that they're putting together, first, is so impressive because it must have taken so much work, but also it's a way for me to relive an experience that I used to do a lot in the past.
The Living is seen by some as a representation of hope.
What we can do together as a community, right? I think this play really highlights what connects us, what connects humanity.
Tickets are on sale and are only $10 for students. Live from Modesto, Guadalupe Emigdio, Update News.
It's been an unusual year all around, so why should Halloween be any different? People in Santa Cruz go all out to provide a unique celebration. Hui Shan Chung is live in Santa Cruz. She picks up the story from there. Hui Shan?
Jennifer, nothing is rare enough in Santa Cruz. This year, we had sea witches for Halloween.
Witches usually fly in the sky, but this paddle in the ocean. The Sea Witches of Capitola event started 5 years ago with 6 participants. The 2 organizers, Caroline Sleevkoff, Wendy Cumming, and their friends.
Probably just because we all had witch costumes. And we just thought it would look fun for all of us to be on boards and all be dressed kind of similarly.
Now it has grown into an annual gathering for all witches in town.
It's so much fun, though I've been a witch for years.
All the witches are dressed up from head to board, especially with their paddle boards. The decorations are spooky and imaginative. After a short briefing at the beach, they are ready to set out.
I highly recommend it. Just get out on the water.
The only risk here is losing their hats.
I did fall into the water chasing after my hat, but it was totally worth it.
After all, it's a fun outdoors and socially distant activity for the public.
For people who want to join the event next year, remember to check the group's Facebook announcement. Live in Santa Cruz, Hui Shan Chung, Update News.
And that does it for arts and entertainment.
Thanks, Jennifer. I definitely want to check out that virtual play.
Right, so do I. It seems so interesting.
When we come back, we'll have more news.
A player gets top honors in the Mountain West for a spectacular performance, and the game itself sets a record.
Update News, we'll be right back. The Spartans football team sees their first winning record at the start of a bizarre season. Danny White is in Santa Cruz with the story. Danny?
Fernanda, although the Spartans are playing to an empty stadium full of just cardboard cutouts as fans, that hasn't stopped them from dominating their opponents, with Nick Starkel, starting quarterback, receiving Mountain West Player of the Week.
Another big win against New Mexico puts the Spartans at their first 2-0 start since 1998, giving them high hopes moving forward in the season.
It was a good win. God, it feels good. So I'm just so excited for our players. I'm really proud of all them, and I'm just really excited that this team is, 2-0 and has a chance to keep going.
The Spartans were firing off on both sides of the ball, but mostly when it came to the passing game. Nick Starkel threw for 467 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Offensively, it was a day of just big plays, and Nick Starkel, oh my goodness, was he fantastic. Just throwing incredibly beautiful deep balls down the field.
Not only was Starkel putting on a clinic, but wide receiver Trey Walker entered the top 5 all-time receptions list of Spartan wide receivers, with 157 receptions at his time at SJSU.
So I don't really go out there and chase any stats or anything, but it was definitely in the back of my head as I was playing today.
He had 9 receptions for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns versus New Mexico.
Just make a play. When the ball's in the air, my job is to come down with it. It's just a routine thing that I do.
This is only Nick Starkel's second game with the Spartans, but they seem to be playing like they've been doing it for seasons.
And we got a great team surrounding me, great offensive line, great running backs, great receivers, and a great defense, as we saw today. So, loving life right now.
The Spartans are looking great so far, and Coach Brennan likes what he sees.
It's just fun to hear people excited about Spartan football again. I'm excited to see what we can do with this team. I always say that I believe we're building a championship program here.
Spartans head to San Diego on Saturday with the high of this win over New Mexico. Live in Santa Cruz, Danny White, Update News.
Now we have student meteorologist Joshua Gilman live with the 5-day forecast. Joshua?
Everyone, get ready because you are really going to feel the true crisp autumn air this upcoming weekend. Across the Bay Area, it is going to be much chillier compared to the last few weeks. As we see looking at the surface fronts map, There's a cold, low-pressure system moving through the bay starting on Friday. It will bring dry air and cause temperatures to suddenly dip by about 20 degrees. Now, going into the 5-day forecast, in Santa Cruz, their high temperatures will mostly be in the low 60s, and the low temperatures will bounce between the mid and lower 40s. They will also experience gusty weather on Sunday, which will make it even chillier. In San Francisco, they're going to be having similar weather to Santa Cruz, with their high temperatures also being in the low 60s, and the low temperatures will be in the mid 40s. In Oakland, their high temperatures are also similar, with high temperatures in the low to mid 60s, and the low temperatures will be in the mid 40s. And in San Jose, the high temperatures will be mainly in the low to mid 60s, and the low temperatures are going to be a bit nippy with the range in the low 40s and upper 30s. The coldest night will be on Sunday at 38 degrees. That's all I have for now. Enjoy your weekend and get ready to bundle up.
And now for a look at SJSU's upcoming events. On November 5th and 6th, the SJSU dance program will present Surge, a virtual performance about resilience during a pandemic and issues of social justice. The show is from 3 to 5 p.m. and will showcase the new ways students are participating in the time of COVID-19. And on November 10th, students will learn how to properly plan for future travels from 2 to 3 p.m. Spartan Recreation will have a workshop about preparing vacation itineraries and more. These are just a couple of virtual events you can enjoy from the comfort of your home. And that does it for this week's edition of Update News.
From all of us here, thanks for joining us and see you next week.